And now let me introduce our speaker of the session today. So Nivesh. Nivesh is a coach, mentor, trainer, author, and enterprise transformation consultant, mentoring organization in transaction to value drive approaches. Nimesh is certified enterprise coach and has helped many organizations and individuals on their transformational journey. Nimesh is also authorized instructor with International Consortium for Agile on 2 tracks, team facilitation and business agility foundations, and also runs advanced Scrum Masters trainings. Nimesh has also his own YouTube channel called Agile Coaching Toolbox. So if you're looking for some tips, please go there. And he regularly shares some agile knowledge and experience with the community via that channel. So it's a huge pleasure to have Nimesh sharing his knowledge today with us. So thanks very much. And Nimesh, feel free to add something if I skip some important information.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you for that introduction, lovely introduction. And I'm excited to be seeing you all here. So today's topic is the prioritization techniques, and we'll do a little bit deeper dive into one of the technique at least. Okay. Um, so as I was saying, this would be a more interactive session. So as much as you can participate, do it. That would be awesome. I have some activity also lined up. We'll see how it goes. But we try to make it more interactive rather than just flipping through slides. Right. So as you can see, I have Miro board set up for us. So we'll do some collaboration there as well. So let's start with the basics first, right? If I ask you this simple question, what's the essence of agile? What would be your answer? What would be your response? Um, in 1 or 2 words, describe what is the essence of agile. And if you want, you can put that in the chat box here. Right? Give you a few seconds to give your input. Simple question, what is the essence of agile? Awesome. We've got a couple of responses. Great. Yeah, so when it comes to agile, at the core of it, if you look at it, at the core of it, it's about value, right? It is about delivering value for our customers. So you don't have to be you don't have to be using any agile framework for that matter. As long as you are focused on the value, focused on the customer, I would say you are agile. You don't need to go with any particular framework, right? Now, so our focus in agile is more about customers, more about identifying the values, more about how can we create that value and deliver that value, right? So that's the focus. So for that, to achieve that, we are using, again, we are doing several different frameworks. If you want to use, like you have Scrum, you have Kanban, you can use any of the frameworks. There are many more, right? But what is the single most important activity that we do to drive this value? If you look at all the activities that we do, one of the most important activity that is done is prioritizing, right? Why prioritize? Because we want to identify what will bring the most value to the customer, right? We want to identify what are their pain points, and then we want to address those pain points. What will bring the most benefit? What will address their pain points? Identify all those and then prioritizing accordingly, right? Now, the goal again is to maximize the value, right? So we are looking to prioritize right things at the right time so that we can create the most value for our customer. Now, who does this prioritization? We all know that is our product owner, right? So the product owner is doing this prioritization, and before we go into the prioritization techniques themselves, I want to identify. I want to highlight two characteristics of this product owner. Uh, when I work with the product owner, I'm looking for what we call in product owner, right? Uh, I'm looking for a keen product owner who has deep product backlog. Right? What do I mean by this? So these are again acronyms. Right? So keen refers to the product owner being knowledgeable, and I cannot spell while talk. So if I make mistake, you know what I mean. So first is knowledgeable. The product owner has to be knowledgeable about whatever business area she is representing, right? About the product, about the market, about the customer, right? The E refers to empowered, right? My product owner has to be empowered, right? She may have all the knowledge about the market, about the customer, but if she's not empowered, if she's not able to make the decisions quickly, then that's not going to go well. So we want a knowledgeable product owner who is empowered. And the third piece is even more important. This product owner has to be engaged with the team, right? We all know an absent product owner is a recipe for disaster in Agile, right? So you even if you have a knowledgeable and empowered product owner, but you barely see the product owner, that's a disaster for your Agile team, right? So that's the engaged. And the last piece is about the product owner being good negotiator. Now, we all know, again, product owner is working with many stakeholders. So oftentimes, she might be dealing with conflicting priorities coming from all these different stakeholders that she is representing. Right? So in that case, she should be able to do all the negotiations about the prioritization before coming to the team. Again, the team doesn't care about how she comes to the prioritization, right? The team is going to look for what's your priority and we will work on that. So in the background, behind the scene, the product owner is doing that negotiation across maybe different stakeholders, right? So that's my definition of a good product owner. The product owner is keen, and then she has deep product backlog. So when I say deep, I'm not talking about the depth of the product backlog. I'm not talking about having 100, 200,000 different items in the product backlog. What we are talking about is, again, different characteristics of the product backlog, right? So the first characteristics is D stands for detailed appropriately, right? And what we mean by that. So detailed appropriately as in, if you have 100 different items in your product backlog, we know we are not going to have all the details for all the items, right? In fact, in Agile, we don't believe in that big requirements upfront, right? So we are not interested in that. So what we are interested in is if I have a product backlog and has 100 different items, I don't care about the details of all the items. What I care about is if the product owner says this is my priority item, I need to have the details for that. We need to do the refinement on that. We need to be ready to build that functionality, right? So that is what we are referring to as in detailed appropriately, right? If they are prioritized, then we want more details. If they are not prioritized, we don't need to worry about the details, right? So with that, you will see that this backlog is constantly evolving, right? So that's the other aspect of it, that this product backlog is continuously emerging. More details, new details will come as we do the refinement. Okay. But this, again, the details are coming in just in time. Right? Just in time, as in the product owner has prioritized that item. Now we need to get the details for that feature functionality. Right? So that's what we mean by just in time. Another term I would like to bring is the LRM, as in this would be the last responsible moment to get those details. Anything later than this would be detrimental to the team. So again, let's stay on that. So if the product owner has prioritized this item and we don't have the details around it, maybe we have just a single line statement on that user story. Maybe the product owner has put in some acceptance criteria, let's say. Is that enough for the team? If the product owner is expecting that the team takes that story into the next sprint? Definitely not. That's not enough detail. Right? So that is the last responsible moment. Hey, if you want us to work on this story in the next sprint, we need to get the details now. Right? So again, coming back to the product backlog, that characteristics is emergent product backlog. It is living, breathing document, as I like to call it. It's constantly changing, evolving. Right? Along with that, estimated appropriately is the third characteristics. Again, same concept. If it is prioritized, we want to estimate on that. If they are not prioritized, it's sitting at the bottom of the backlog. We don't care. We don't want to spend time on estimating that because we don't know whether we will work on it or not, right? So that is what we refer to as the estimated appropriately. The last piece, obviously, as we talked about, is the prioritized, right? The priority. That's the key. That's how the product owner is identifying that value piece and working towards bringing that value to the customer, right? So that's what I'm looking for as far as my product owner is concerned. Right? I'm looking for that keen product owner with the deep product backlog. Right? Now, if again, we are looking at the product backlog prioritization, identifying the priorities, and then working through those priorities to create that value. Right? So it is an important activity that is done by the product owner. Now, there are many, many different ways to prioritize your backlog. Right? So I want to hear from you guys as to what are the different prioritization techniques that you have used or that you know or that you have heard of. Okay. So I'll give you a few minutes. If you all are at the computer, I would like you to use this menti.com. Anybody has used that? Great. No? Okay. So if you have used it, it's great. If you haven't used it, it's fairly easy. You don't have to do much. What we are doing is you'll go to this menti.com and then type in this code. And then it will allow you to put in your inputs into that, and this will create a nice word cloud. So I'll actually bring that up. We can see it as it is being created. Right. So this is what we will do. We will spend few minutes on this. You'll go to menti.com, type in this code 15921642, right? And what you will see is basically something like this. And that will create a nice word cloud that I'll share on the screen as well. So I have lined up a couple of them here, and we saw some of these showing up on our word cloud also. So Moscow is the one of the simplest one that we all of have heard, which is basically must have, should have, could have, would have, just kind of looking at the feature list and identifying what is the must have versus what is something that is good to have, but if you don't get it, that's also fine, right? The other one is the Kano model. Again, that's looking at features from the customer's point of view as to what will excite the customer. What features will make them excited about our product? What features will make them look to go and buy our feature, right? Versus features that are okay. I mean, if you get it, that's fine. Customer is not going to make a big deal of it, right? So this is often used lot of times used in the marketing to identify what features to market. The other technique is value versus complexity, right? We want to identify what will bring the value to the customer, but then you don't want to look at just the value also. You want to look at the complexity also, or the effort involved, right? So you are looking at those two parameters, what will bring the most value, and then look at the complexity or the effort involved, and then identify what will bring the most value with the least effort, kind of, right? So that's the third technique. You also want to look at cost of delay, for example. Can I not build this feature right now? If I don't build it, what's the cost that I'll end up paying not in terms of money, but in terms of lost opportunity, for example, right? So cost of delay is another good way to go about prioritizing. Uh, the WSJF is weighted shortest job first. So that's again looking at several different parameters. Cost of delay is one of those in the WSJF. This is coming from SAFe, the Scaled Agile Framework. But again, looking at multiple different parameters to identify those priorities. The bubble sort is essentially you're going through your backlog and looking at two items at a time. You're looking at two items and comparing them against each other, and then kind of going about sorting them based on the value, based on the other factors. So bubble sort is another technique. You might have heard of 2020 vision. So that's one of the game that you can play when it comes to prioritizing. That's basically using that bubble sort. Theme screening is another one. Buy a feature, again, another activity that you can do. Anybody else heard of Eisenhower matrix? All right. So Eisenhower matrix is essentially looking at the two aspects. So first aspect is the importance, right? As in, how important is this feature for the product, for the customer, for the market, right? And then the urgency. So is it urgent that we work on it? Right? So, and then you can use this to even prioritize your day-to-day activities also, your to-do list, if you want to call it, right? If I'm looking at my backlog and I'm putting them across these four quadrants, right? Which is the quadrant that I need to work on first? Any guesses? Yep. So this is the one that we want to work on, right? This is urgent as well as important. So we better get working on it now. So this would be, again, if I was the product owner, everything in that quadrant is my highest priority, right? So that's the, again, you can use this Eisenhower matrix um, to identify those priorities accordingly. Now, the last one, and that's what we want to dive a little bit deeper into, is for the rice model. Right? So, rice, again, it's not talking about the basmati rice that we all are so fond of, but it's again, it's an acronym, right? So, rice refers to four different aspects of that prioritization. So, first one is talking about the reach. Reach as in, if you build this feature, if you build this functionality, what would be the reach of our product? Would we be able to get to bigger audience, right? Reach. Uh, so again, it's in essence, you're looking at the market segment or the size of the market, right? If I build this feature and deliver this feature, oh my God, we will be reaching 80% of our customers. Versus, hey, we build this feature, it's probably going to be of interest to maybe 10% of our customer, right? So that's what this reach refers to. Now, I is the impact. Impact as in, what's the impact on our customer? What is the impact on our customer's experience with the product? What's the impact on our bottom line? Right. So you can look at different aspects of that impact, but in essence, you're looking at the impact that is created by this feature functionality. Okay. So that's the second aspect we want to be looking at when it comes to using this RISE. C refers to the confidence as to what is our confidence level on building this functionality. What's the confidence level of our numbers that we are using here for the reach and impact and all that, right? So it's looking at basically the level of confidence that we as a team, we as an organization have in these numbers, in building and delivering this product or the feature. The last piece refers to effort, right? As to what's the effort involved, right? If it is easy, obviously we can get that out the door quickly. If it is harder, then it's going to take more time, more effort. So we definitely want to look at effort as one of the aspects when it comes to prioritization. Okay? And so these are the four elements, these are the four components of RISE. And then you are using the formula. So you are looking at the reach, the impact. Okay. You're still seeing the screen, right? Just want to confirm. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we do.
reach, impact, then confidence, you're bringing all that, right? You're going to multiply those and then divide it by the effort, right? This gives you some number that's referred to as a RISE score. Okay, simple formula, looking at all these four different aspects. Obviously, effort is the denominator here, right? So what does that mean? If the effort is low, then my rise score is going to go high, right? If the effort is more, then my rise score is going to go low. In a sense, that will force the item to bubble up to the list of our backlog items, right? So the low effort items, and if it is creating bigger impact, we definitely want to tackle that first, right? So it will automatically bubble up those items to the top of our backlog. So let's look at one example. Okay? And if you want to follow through, I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can definitely open that up on your side. This is a Google worksheet and I have shared it with everybody. Essentially, this is what we are going to do here. So let's bring that up. So let's assume that we are a financial services company and we are looking to build some new functionality for our customer. Right? Let's say we are looking to build a credit card functionality so that the users can pay using credit card. Right? Um, so the story or the product backlog item says the retail customer wants to pay for their purchases using Visa or MasterCard so that they can get the product in their hands quickly and start using it. Simple ask, right? Uh, if we go through the rise, we are looking at it as, what's the reach, first of all. In this case, we are saying that if we deliver this, looking at the data that we have about our transactions from the past, looks like it's probably going to allow us to reach 80% of our customers. So 80% of the transactions are handled using MasterCard or Visa. So that's the reach. Okay. So I, so there are multiple different ways to look at it. You can look at the reach as in, low, medium, high, and you can score it that way. So for example, if it is low, you can put a score of 1, high, maybe 5. You can come up with your score. To keep things simple, I like to use the scale of 0, like 1 to 100 or 0 to 100, let's say, right? That makes things easier. So in this case, we are saying that 80% of our transactions will be impacted by this. Sorry, will be our reach would be 80% of transactions, right? Obviously, that has a bigger impact on our bottom line. So that's why we have a score of 90 here. Okay? Again, 0 to 100, or if that is the scale, 100 meaning big impact versus 0 being no impact at all, right? So in this case, we are saying that if we build and deliver this functionality, the impact would be huge. So that's why we have a score of 90 here. What about the confidence? Can we build this? What about the confidence that we have all the information that we need, right? Here, let's assume that the team has done some work in the past with these networks, the MasterCard and Visa and all that, right? So the team is pretty confident about building and delivering this functionality. So in that case, our confidence level is pretty high on this, right? So that's why we have a score of 90. You may say, I have a score of 10, let's say. If this is something new, the team says, hey, we have not done this in the past. We don't know how Visa and MasterCard works. We will have to identify how we connect from our network to their network and exchange data, exchange the transaction status and things like that. In that case, my confidence is pretty low, right? Effort, massive effort, because we have to talk to these two networks and get the APIs and things like that, the security and all the different aspects. So the effort level is huge here. And that is why I have a score of 90, right? So then if we apply that formula, again, remember reach into impact into confidence divided by the effort. That's the formula that gives you the score of 800. I'm just showing you this as one particular feature functionality, just to walk you through as to how you use it. Now, if you have more, like if this was my product backlog and we have all these different stories, we will do the same thing for all those items. All right. And then basically you are going to look at this RISE score to identify what is the item that will create the most impact. What would be the highest priority, right? Higher the RISE score, the higher the priority. I'll pause here. Any question, concerns, thoughts from any of you? All right.
Related to the effort, is this also is this an absolute value in the meaning of man days that needs to be taken into account for the development? Or should it be also a relative amount from 0 to 100, for example, in which all the PBIs are compared to?
Yeah, so you're not looking at the man hours. Again, we don't want to go into all those details as to how much of an effort exactly, right? This is kind of a ballpark. So we can say that the scale of low effort to like low, medium, high, extra high effort, right? So in this case, basically 90 is somewhere in that extra high effort, I'm saying, right? So you can define your own scale that way. But the only thing I would say is be consistent with that. Once you decide the scale, use the same scale for every item that you have on your product backlog.
Sure. All right. Thanks.
All right. Any other question? All right. If no question, I'm looking at the time also. So I wanted to do this exercise, but we'll probably skip that. Or let's say if we have time, we'll come back to this. But this is essentially how you are going to use RISE to help you identify the right priorities.
We actually understand the concept, so thanks so much because of time.
Yeah.
From your explanation, it's very good, logical, and very interesting. I love it.
Great.
Thanks,
So let's talk about why we want to use this method to prioritize. So what are the benefits and what are the shortcomings? Any thoughts on that? What are the benefits here of using RISE? Any guess?
Trying to objectivize it.
What is that?
Objectivizing.
Yeah.
Yep, great. Thank you. Yeah, so definitely this will help you in kind of neutralize the biases, right? If I'm biased toward a particular feature functionality, tendency is the priority will be impacted my bias on that as a product owner, right? Because I love working in that particular business area, so I'm going to prioritize that higher. So with this RISE model, you are actually eliminating those biases impacting your priority. So that's the first benefit, right? You are also, to some extent, you are also using data-driven decision, right? You are using different data points to come to this RISE score. So this is more quantitative decision making, if you want to call it, right? And we know nowadays every decision is kind of data driven because we have so much of data information available very easily. So definitely use that data driven approach to even identify your priorities, right? So data driven decisions, that's another benefit of it, I would say. Now with that, uh, I also want to highlight or caution that since this is data driven decision, obviously your decision will be only as good as your data, right? So the data as in, the score that you're putting for reach, impact, confidence level, all that will impact obviously the RISE score. So if your data is bad, as we know, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if your data is bad, your decision, your priority will be wrong as well. Okay. So that's the other piece. To some extent, the other piece is the dependency. Right? So if you notice, the RISE formula doesn't talk about dependencies, right? So you may be wondering, hey, we are not even considering dependencies, and that is bad because we know everything that we do in today's world has dependencies, has many different tentacles across different stories, different products, different teams, right? So we definitely cannot ignore that. But in another way, if you look at it, it is considered, right? When I ask the effort, right, what are you going to do? You are obviously going to look at those dependencies, right? At least think about it as to, am I going to be interacting with one system, multiple systems? Am I going to be dependent on multiple teams? Right? All that will kind of get reflected in the effort. If you have to interact with multiple teams and multiple products and multiple systems, obviously you'd say, hey, this is a very high effort. So in a way, RISE takes into consideration the dependencies aspect also. It's not direct, it's kind of indirectly baked into our decision making. Make sense? Sorry, guys. My son is calling. So yeah, these are the benefits. It's obviously objectivizing our decision making. It's based on the data. So put in some effort into data. So that's other piece this formula does. It in fact forces the product management to do some exploration. That's another piece that I like about this. It's not that we are pulling some numbers out of thin air, right? When I ask them, hey, what's the reach? They will have to do some exploration, right? They'll have to do some background research, if you want to call it, and then come to a conclusion as to what is the reach. So, in other words, these forces us to do some exploration, which is good. And the exploration is good here. So I would say these are some of, again, I'm looking at the time. So with the limited time we have, um, these are the benefits, I would say, of using RISE. Okay, objectivizes the decisions are based on the data. It also considers the dependencies. It forces the product management to do some exploration before we get to that score. Right? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. We have about 10 minutes left. I wanted to leave some time for any questions that you may have. I'll definitely answer those. And then
Would anybody have any questions?
sorry?
I think I have one.
Hang on.
So we rise. If you've got a large backlog,
I did get the
each item. If you have a large product backlog, would you start doing it for each item on that backlog?
If you have a large backlog, would you do that exercise for every item in the backlog?
So initially, like when we talk about the prioritization, it happens in multiple levels also. If you notice, now when we are using this RISE, we are not at the story level. This is more like epics and features. That's a different topic altogether. But these are like big chunks of work that the product owner has identified, and then you are doing this. So I would say yes, you would want to do this RISE score for all the items, those big chunks on your backlog, right? As to what epics we should work on, what features we should work on. At a high level, you definitely want to do this RISE score for every item on that. You won't be doing that for every story on your backlog. That will be too much detail. So long story, I gave you a long answer, but the quick answer is yes. You would want to go through all the product backlog items at the epic and feature level.
Okay, thank you.
So we have another question on the chat. How do you use RISE across multiple product teams to ensure consistency to the RISE score by different POs?
Okay, great question. Great question. Yeah, so here, like there are two variations of this, right? So we have multiple teams working on one product. So that's one scenario, right? Yeah, the product is like one product, but then we have multiple teams involved. So we may have multiple product owners involved in this case, right? So how do we make sure that there is a consistency? The other scenario that you are talking about in this is you have multiple products, and across those multiple products, multiple teams involved, even bigger number of teams, right? So both scenarios can be tackled by kind of quote unquote standardizing these scores as to, hey, when we talk about reach, you are going to use this scale of 0 to 100, as in if it is low reach, then you're going to say anywhere from 1 to 20, let's say. If it is very high reach, then it will be a score of 80 to 100. So you're giving them some guidelines, some standard laid out as to how to use those scales. So that will have to be done by your, if you have a center of excellence, for example, agile center of excellence, who creates all the templates and worksheets and all that, they would come out with these quote unquote standard, and that will be conveyed to every product owner in the organization. So that's one way you can make sure that the score that we come up with is using the same scale. Okay, hope that answers your question. All right, any other question?
Yeah, you good. Thank you. So I guess yes. Okay. Any more questions? You can either speak up, unmute yourself and speak up, or type it into the chat and I will read it. Hi, going once, going twice. Okay, so I think we can wrap up. So thanks very much, everybody, for joining today. This is a reminder, a last session before the summer. We'll kick off again in September, but we are taking break to enjoy the summer. And thanks very much, Nimesh, for joining us today and sharing the topic. Great questions, everybody who asked them. And thanks very much for clarifying things for us. And we have another tool in our toolbox, Agile Toolbox.
Yeah.
So that's all what we want. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to link with Nimesh on LinkedIn or follow his YouTube channel. Nimesh, again, thanks very much for the time. It's we appreciate you took time out of your calendar to be here with us.
No problem. No problem. It's pleasure. So let me know if I can be of any help on this
Lovely.
as well as in the future, as I said
Yeah,
earlier.
lovely. Okay, so we'll be in touch. Bye bye.
Bye.